What are you teaching your kids about motherhood? This is something that, if you haven't noticed, I'm really on this war path this month, apparently, about ending the cycle of picking up other people's emotions and doing things for our kids that they can do for themselves, and really about creating more ease in your life. And society has lied to us. Society has taught us that mom life is hard. I'm not saying it's a cakewalk, but we can create more lightness and ease in a way that feels good to us. But we have to identify as the woman who has ease and lightness in her life. And I think if we really look at what society has taught us, we have all held on to this belief because our beliefs are really set in stone by about the time we are 7 years old, which is wild, right? And so if you think about what you were shown mom life to be when you were younger up until the point you were 7, what does that look like? For me, it was single mom, struggling, working multiple jobs, trying to make ends meet, and very stressed and very overwhelmed and very emotionally immature parents in my life. Divorce. I divorced and remarried by the time I was 7. And so it's really wild if you look at the patterns of your life that have happened up until that point and what you learned about life by the time you were 7. Isn't that crazy? So I want you to think about most of the time these patterns we've learned in childhood. So people pleasing, putting everyone else's needs ahead of our own, that was a survival pattern. And we carry out a lot of these survival patterns. Something that's really funny is I had a family member ask me not too long ago when I was going to get over my childhood trauma. And here's what I want to say to that. I look at it now and I just kind of laugh because when I was asked that, I was just like, you don't get over it. And so, not only does our traumas, and all of us have trauma, whether it's big T or little t, not all of us have big T trauma, but all of us probably have little t trauma. What little t trauma is when somebody calls you stupid on the playground and it really affected you in a way, and you maybe didn't understand it at the time, and maybe you didn't go home and you're like, Mom, so and so called me stupid on the playground today. I have one boy in elementary school, and he called me stupid on the playground. And I still remember the feeling I had when that happened. And so when we think about childhood trauma, we don't just get over it. And especially if it's big T trauma, you don't get over it. You learn ways to heal it and to reparent yourself and to really step in and start to um, become your most healthy, integrated version of you, but you're never going to get over it completely. And we carry all of these stories with us into adulthood. So, the ways of surviving as a child is if you had emotionally immature parents. I had very emotionally immature parents. And all that means is basically they did not know how to manage not only their own emotions, they didn't know how to handle our big emotions. And so, whenever we would have emotions, maybe you were told, this is what I was told, quit your damn bawling, be a big girl, suck it up, go sit in your room till you're done crying. And so we learn that emotions are bad. So we start to learn to stuff our emotions down, not let anybody see us emotional or upset or angry or whatever that may be, because we're trying to keep the people around us regulated. We didn't think about it that way, but we were like, how can I keep mom calm? Okay, I need to show up this way so that mom stays calm. But when we create these patterns in our childhood, we carry them into adulthood because, again, the stories and beliefs around what you were taught are set by about the age of 7. Can they change? Absolutely. We do know about the brain being able to shift and change and create new neural pathways, which is called neuroplasticity. And so now you're an adult, now you have children, and now you are like, oh my gosh, I want you to actually look around. I think that maybe deep down, you know there is more to life than what you are living right now. And you just aren't quite sure how you are going to get yourself there. And you think, I don't want to show up this way. This is kind of how it started for me is I was the mom who was snapping at my kids all the time. I yelled a lot. spilled milk truly would make me cry some days. I was so that overwhelmed. And I remember one day I was just sitting there and I had like one of my kids in my lap crying and I was holding my baby and I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is not the life that I signed up to live. I hate this. I was so angry at my husband because he would go to work and then he would come home and he'd get to be the fun dad. And I was taking care of the house and I was making sure the hot meal was on the table and laundry was done and all of it. And I remembered getting really resentful. And when I look back on that phase of my life now, I can look at it and be like, I knew deep down that was not what I wanted to teach my kids motherhood looked like. And so if you are looking at your life and where you are at right now, is it something that you want your kids creating in their lives? Because our kids are not going to listen to what you say as much as they're going to do what you do. So if you are going to be the do as I do mom, your kids are going to learn so much more from that than being the do as I say mom. And you deserve to rest. You do not have to do everything. I talked about this last week, having boundaries and expectations and ending the cycle of doing things for your kids that they can do for themselves. You and your partner should be sharing the workload, even around the house. I don't care if they have a job that they go to. It is not your job to take care of everything else at home. Again, that's equivalent to a 98-hour work week. So if you want that comparison there, if your husband's not working 98 hours a week, he's got something left to give when he gets home too, because you guys participated together. This was a joint participation effort to create this family. You both get to run it. But look around at your relationship. This is a really good question to ask yourself, and ask yourself, is the way that I am living right now something that I would be proud of my kids living later? Proud to see my kids living later? Would you be proud if your kids had the same relationship as you? If they showed up mom life the same as you? If they had the same thoughts about yourself, about the world as you? Would you be proud? And if your answer is no in any area of your life, you get to shift it. This is not to judge it. This is just to be able to like look at that and be like, interesting. Okay, what do I want to do differently? So just ask yourself, like, what are your kids actually seeing? Kids are very literal. So if you say something, they will take it at face value. If you do something, they are taking that at face value. What are they learning from you? So I think that as moms, we are taught to be that I'm fine. I'm fine. It's fine. And one, here's what I did learn gaslighting was that I actually had no idea. If you are crying and you are clearly upset and your kid's like, "What's wrong, mommy?" And you're like, "Oh, nothing. I'm fine." Well, you're now causing your kid to one, question their own reality, and two, that's gaslighting because now you're causing your kids to question their own reality. You can say things like, "Mommy's just upset right now. It has nothing to do with you, and there's nothing that I need you to do to fix it." And so we're raised in that culture that, yeah, if we're overwhelmed and exhausted and maybe even in tears and someone asks if we're okay, we tend to tell them automatically, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. Nothing's wrong." You push through, you pretend it's all good, you don't ask for help. Even, goodness, even when you desperately need it. So then I kind of had this pattern of when I had my first two kids of by the time I had my second, I really wanted some time alone with her. And I had family members, sister-in-laws, like asking, "Hey, can I come pick up your oldest? Like, can I come pick her up and she can come hang out for a few hours?" And I'd be like, "Oh no, like we're okay." And I was like wearing it like a badge of honor. Like, I am such a good mom. I don't need help. Like, I thought that's what was so good. And now when I look back on that, I'm like, oh, what would that would have looked like if I would have just asked for help? So now how can I take that lesson and apply it to the future? We can't go back, right? There's no sense in beating yourself up for the past when you can't go back and change it. So how do you want to change the future based on what you learned from the past? So we don't want your daughter to learn, tough it out, keep going, even when they need support. And then your son, what he is learning, because he's picking up stuff too, is that women are supposed to handle it all on their own. And so when he's grown, he is not going to think twice about letting his wife do the same. Like, I want you to let that sink in for just a minute. He will not think twice. He is going to find a mate, a partner who will fill that gap. And that's exactly what my husband did, because that's what I learned. And then he learned his mom took care of everything and his dad took care of like making money and some of the outside stuff. And so when we got married, he really looked for someone who was searching to take care of him. And I was searching for someone who wanted to be taken care of, because that was the pattern that I saw in my house. And so I want you to really, really think about that, is what are you also teaching your son? And what are you teaching your daughter? We are showing them that moms come last. If you are never sitting down, if you're always serving yourself last, if you're putting your needs at the bottom of the list, you don't go out with friends because the kids need you, you don't buy yourself things because you're too worried about buying your family things or your kids things. Well, I also did this. I would get gift cards from my sister-in-laws for Christmas, and I would buy my kids clothes. And so eventually, I didn't like catch on at what a beautiful gift it was at the time, but I do now. My sister-in-law started buying me gift cards to places that only sold women's clothing. And one of them made a joke about it, like, they don't sell kids clothes here. And I really just did not comprehend it at the time, but years later I was like, oh my gosh, that is what that was about. It came full circle. So you jokingly complain like, oh, moms don't get breaks, do we? Like, we just joke about it, but deep down you really believe that. And so let's not teach our daughters that being a mom means sacrificing everything. And let's not teach our sons that women are supposed to be selfless and that his future wife should do the same without complaint. One of the biggest things that frustrated me, I will say, about we've had a recent death in the family, and listening to everybody talk about how she never complained, she did everything for others. And I saw the other side of that, right? I intimately saw the other side of that pattern, and they are praising this self sacrificing behavior. And it made me so sad, because no woman should ever have to do everything for other people and never complain. And I don't believe that we want to. I love to help people, but I am not going to do it in a way that sacrifices not only myself, but my family. And so really think about that. All right. Ooh, the just do it myself. I'll just do that myself. I think that sometimes it is really hard to delegate work, especially housework. This was an area that I really struggled in. It's just easier if I do it myself. They won't do it the right way. It'll take too long to explain. There were sometimes that I would ask them to clean something, and then they would clean something, and then I would go back and clean it behind them because it was not done very good. Now I have learned a new way of, I appreciate your effort, but in this house, when we do our task or a job, we do it all the way. So we're going to have to go back, and I want you to go back and really look at that work and decide if you did that all the way or if you kind of half-assed it. And we had a set, like, we pulled our teens aside the other day, and we had this very conversation of like, we don't half-ass um, stuff. Like, when it's your turn to clean, like, we're only asking you to clean this once a week. And so we expect the job to be done well. What do you think you could improve on here? I don't know that we said it exactly that way, but pretty close. We're really working on trying to word things differently so we're not tearing our kids down or beating them down. So we're learning a new life skill with parenting, working with a coach there. And so let's just let them know, like, again, teaching them the same pattern. Everything goes back to the same pattern. You're the sacrificial lamb. Your daughter learns being a woman means taking on everything alone. Nobody's going to help. And if they do help, it's never going to be good enough. So you might as well just do it yourself. And I have had to shift so many behaviors. So I want you to know you can change it too. If you are feeling so overwhelmed by this, believe me, I was the one who was sitting there, and I'd be like, that's really easy for you to say because you're there. But believe me, I started wherever you are at. I probably started there, maybe even worse. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. Like, I have been in some of the situations that you might have find yourself in right now, and it can all be shifted. So I just want you to know One more thing that I want to hit on is like apologizing for taking up space. I I really hear a lot of women apologizing for things that they do not need to apologize for. If you have ever been in one of my private mentorship containers doing private coaching with me, one of the rules that I set, even in group coaching, I actually do this in group coaching too. Um, we do not allow apologies. We do not apologize for having emotions. We do not apologize for taking up space. We do not apologize for talking too much. We do not apologize. It's just a rule. So I sent, it's like bumping into somebody at the grocery store and you're always like, oh, sorry. And both of you are like saying sorry. Um, I've had one mom, like, we'll go to dinner sometimes with like a big group of us, and she'll be like, oh, sorry, I just have to say one more thing. I'm like, you don't have to apologize for that. Or when I have a client who starts crying and they're like, I'm so sorry, I'm crying. I'm like, you also don't have to apologize for that. You get to have your feelings and your emotions, and it gets to come up, and you're doing nothing wrong. So just know, like, you don't have to apologize. And anytime you apologize, your daughter is learning that women should shrink themselves and not ask for what they need. They should make themselves small to keep others comfortable. And what your son is learning, I love pulling in this piece of like what your son is learning, because I think that we don't think about that. We think about what we want to teach our kids or what we want to teach our daughters as moms, but your sons are also watching. So if you have boys, they're also watching. And so they might learn that women should always accommodate and never inconvenience anyone. Really think about that. Like when you start to think about just how do you want your son's relationship with his wife to be? And what do you want him to believe about motherhood and partnership? And so we're also teaching them by the actions. So stop over apologizing and let's just like replace it with some confident statements. So here's some ideas for you. So instead of saying like, sorry for the mess, what if you just said like, we've been having fun today, we'll get this cleaned up? No need to apologize. We've been having fun today. We're going to get this cleaned up later. Or instead of saying, like, sorry for asking, you can say, I need your help with this. Are you available? Or, sorry, I needed a break. Say, you know what? I'm taking a break because I really need one right now. That's it. No over explanation. Take what you need. No justifying. Over explaining is a whole nother pattern of behavior. There's so many patterns of behavior. We work on all of this in private mentorship. But your daughter learns that when she watches you over explain yourself, that you have to justify your decisions and earn your right to say no. And then your son always learns that women, or and maybe even themselves, always need a reason for not doing what others want. So yeah, like no is a complete sentence, friend. No, we're not going today. No, I don't feel like it. That actually doesn't work for me. That's it. Period. So I want you to know that when you start to shift these things, one, start small. We do not have to start in a big way. When you start small, and allow yourself to shift like one thing at a time. Because when you start to notice your patterns of behaviors, the thing is, you're going to start to see it everywhere. Do not let that overwhelm you. If you see a pattern of behavior, let's just say you decide one area of your life that you want to work on this pattern with. Maybe you're like, you know what, I'm going to not over explain anymore with this person. Maybe you do it a lot with your mom. If we go back to like, oh, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, but the phone call from our mom, and we get to decide if we pick it up or not, right? But we're afraid that she's going to be mad at us. We do not have to explain. So if we find ourselves in a pattern of constantly having to explain to our mom why we're not willing to do something, then maybe we start with that area of our life. And we start to practice. You start to flex that muscle. It's like going to the gym, right? You can't go to the gym once and come back and have like a six pack and a rock hard body. You have to go multiple times. You have to build the muscle. You have to increase your weights. You have to do all these things. You have to eat the right food. Then you start to see like your body composition changing, and you start to see those abs peeking through and like new muscle definition and different muscles on your body. So it's the same thing. We're just flexing our boundary muscle and really starting to put into place in one area of our life. Now, if you see it popping up in all other areas of your life, you can decide, do I want to practice flexing this right now, or do I want to park it in the garage? And what I mean by parking it in the garage is I will make a list of different things that need to be done or that I'm seeing, and I will make a list of those things, and then I will come back to them later and decide if I want to pull them out of the garage and work on that area. So if you have multiple areas of your life that you want to start setting boundaries, start with one. When you set one and then enforce it and uphold that, you not only start to build that muscle, you're also building your confidence within yourself, and you're getting your nervous system to relax a little bit more around being able to do that behavior and confidently know that you're not going to die when you do it. So just know that. Maybe that was a little extreme, but something that I used to do is I would like wake up the next day after I would do something scary and I'd be like, okay, but I didn't die. And so it really gets your nervous system comfortable around doing it. So then you can start to move up to like maybe scarier areas of your life, right? I started within the home. It was like with my partner. There were certain things I did with certain family members where I would protect my own peace. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm actually not available to have a phone conversation with this person, but I'll do text. And so I shifted into that. So I would do a text check-in once a week. And that was the extent of that. And then whenever they called, I would either keep it super brief, like come up with maybe an excuse like, hey, I need to hop on a call in about 10 minutes. Like, what's up? Or, hey, I don't have a ton of time to talk. Um, what do you need? Like, ask it however you want. You know what I mean? All right, I digress here. So we want to be able to not only teach our daughters, but also teach our sons what mom life looks like, what a true healthy relationship in a partnership can also look like. And so I just want you to know that like you get to shift your identity into the woman who prioritizes your own well-being, sets boundaries without guilt, and lives life on your terms. You are the only one living your life. And if it's not feeling good, you are the only one who can take back your power and change it. Okay, so I want you to know that when one day, how cool will it be when your kids look back and say, I had a mom who showed me what it means to truly live a life I love with kids in tow? Really think about that. And if you loved this episode, please give it a 5-star review if that feels good for you, or at least up to a 5-star review. Let me know your thoughts. Share it with a friend. Share it on your stories and tag me on Instagram at its.amandaclark. I would love to hear what you think. I would love to hear what other topics you might like to hear from me. I am an open book. I am so willing to talk about any questions you have. So hit me up in the DMs. Let's have a conversation and start living a life that you love and showing your kids what's truly possible as a mom.